Good morning. It is Monday, April 8th. Thanks for joining us on Up to the Minute. I'm Dr. Nicholas Cox, the chair of the HCC History Department. I'm joined this morning by Dr. Lana Pigal, HCC's Northwest College Communications Director. Good morning, Lana. How are you today?
I am good, thank you. I think we're having a lot of issues due to the eclipse this morning.
That's right. Let's just blame the eclipse for anything that goes
Yeah.
wrong today. That's my plan for the rest of the day. Normally we're joined by Amy Tan, the Dean of English, but she is doing eclipse stuff today, I believe. So today, Lon and I will be your co-hosts. We are live on the Houston Community College District's Facebook page. We're also on YouTube. We're on LinkedIn, HCC TV, and X at noon, 5, and 10 p.m. Monday through Friday. With the big eclipse upon us, we're billing this as Solar Day. Later, I'll be talking about solar energy and a student competition this month with Professor Frias. Professor Frias, good morning.
Good morning to you. How are you?
I'm great. I understand that you work with the HCC Electrical Technology Program, and we've got a bunch of questions for you about solar energy and our HCC programs later in the show.
Look forward to it.
Let me have Lana back so she can interview our first guest. And Professor Frias, you and I will speak in just a few moments.
Sounds great.
All right, Lana, over to you.
Well, we have Dr. Brian. Dr. Brian, do you say Mahon? Mahon?
Man.
Oh my goodness, did I get that wrong? Wow. Well, welcome to the show, Brian.
Thank you.
Last week, the biology department hosted a brunch with the library and student life to discuss the upcoming solar eclipse. And I know it has been in the news. Everybody's excited about it. People are traveling all over the country to be in that site area that we're all supposed to be in to see it. But before we get into today's watch party, tell us how a professor of biology and genetics ends up involved in these astronomy events.
So that's a byproduct of my project that I did as an innovation fellows at the West Houston Institute. Here at the Institute, I was working on this lab, which is just one of our 6 rooms. One of the first things that I was able to acquire for us in equipment was some astronomy equipment and microscopes and telescopes. So since we had those here, we started putting them into use. We started doing star parties at night, and now when we have eclipse things, we tried to get involved in that as well. So some of my colleagues at the library who set up the idea for giving out eclipse glasses like these that we need to wear when we look at the sun later today, hopefully, weather permitting. We decided that we could do something maybe the week before the eclipse so that we could have students ready for it. And so they invited me to come and give a short talk along with one of my friends from IT who works for the George Observatory on the weekends. We talked about eclipses to the students the other day and showed them some of the equipment. We showed them one of our pieces of equipment, which is a solar telescope. We brought it out so they could see it as a dedicated solar telescope, so you can look at the sun without having to damage your eyes. You just find it through the spotter, and then you can look through the eyepieces and focus to see the sun on not just eclipse days, but on any day. You can see the surface, you can see the corona, you can see all the various solar flares, things like that, and sunspots. With those.
Right. So, yeah, we have a big cloud cover this morning. I know some folks have gotten in their cars to drive up to Dallas or Austin where there may not be rain in the forecast. But assuming that there will be some breaking of the clouds, what should we expect today during the eclipse?
Okay, so as long as it's not actively raining and it's not a complete cover, we should be able to see at the A-leaf haze area where I'm at about a 94%, 90% coverage of the solar disk by the moon. If you travel out to Katy, you get about the 95% coverage. And if you go over to Austin, the mid Austin or in San Antonio or Dallas, you would probably see the 100% coverage. You'll see the corona with the solar or the lunar disk and blocking out the solar disk. That's because of the size of the sun and relativity to the moon. The moon is about 1/400th the diameter of the sun, and it's about a 1/400th the distance from the Earth that it is to the sun. And that ratio sets it up perfectly so that the sun covers exactly the same amount on a day like today. On last year's October's annular eclipse, the moon was a little further from us, and it left a ring. So you see a ring of the sun disk, of the solar disk, plus the corona extending out. We should see a notable decline in brightness outside and a temperature drop.
Wow. So it'll get noticeably darker. Or what, 5 minutes?
For a considerable length of time, because the actual event starts around 12:19, and then total coverage is around 1:40, and then it'll cease covering at about 3 o'clock.
So when you say temperatures will drop, what about how many degrees?
I've heard about 10. 10 degrees, because it's basically what you're having is 90% of the sun is covered up. So when you normally go outside and stand in the sun, it warms you up. You'll actually stop feeling that heat on your skin. I've heard that people who are vision impaired can tell when there's an eclipse because of the change in the temperature.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, that's great. Well, let's talk about the SciLAB. Tell me about the SciLAB at West Houston Institute. Where did the SciLAB originate?
So SciLAB was always supposed to have, or I should say West Houston Institute was always supposed to have a science laboratory for research in it. It was designed to be originally for material sciences, largely. The people who were interested in doing the material sciences have left us. And as the budget kind of ran out towards supplying all the different parts of the WHI, because there's extensive equipment and facilities here, science lab was kind of left out. We got our benches, things like that, but we didn't have a lot of equipment. And so when I became a West Houston Institute Innovation Fellow, I took on the project. My personal project was to get SciLAB up and running, and I renamed it the SciLAB, which is basically an acronym for the Student Collaborative Innovation Laboratory. My focus in my former research life was in molecular biology, and so when I started acquiring new equipment other than the pieces that were already acquired for telescopes and microscopes, I focused on molecular biology because that's my strong point. So we worked it up, got some equipment in, basic laboratory glassware, and we had some pieces of equipment that were donated to us. We had some very generous gifts from Sparks Engineering out of Manville. They gave us a biological safety cabinet and some analytical balances so we could do precision weight and work with particles that were very small and be able to filter those out so they wouldn't get into the environment. We started doing workshops. We did a workshop series using DNA extraction, followed by polymerase chain reaction. We did a few workshops using jelly electrophoresis and the polymerase chain reaction in the thermocycler that you can kind of see over here on the side behind my microscope. We did some additional cloning exercises using a gene from an animal into a green fluorescent protein into E. coli. And we've done some other workshops as well. For faculty, we even did a gene editing workshop using the CRISPR techniques. So it's a work in progress, but we're getting there.
Great. So very quickly, tell us how your lab is funded, how your programs are.
So we've gotten some funding from from the institute itself, from our budget for smaller workshops. A little bit of funding from Citgo Corporation through the foundation. And they kindly have paid some stipends for some things and helped us out with some work. And we presently have an NIH, National Institute of Health R25 grant that we're pending that was written with Rice University in their bioengineering department.
Sounds great. Well, thank you, Dr. Brian Mahon, HCC Biology Professor, Chair of the Genetics and Zoology Subcommittees, and WHI Innovation Fellow. And we'll have your info in our post after the show. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you. Have a good day. Thanks.
Okay, Nick.
Well, thank you both. Thank you very, very much. We are going to turn now to Professor Frias. He is the Industrial Technology faculty, and he works in the HCC Electrical Technology program. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, before we dive into talking a little bit about that program, tell me, what classes do you teach at HCC? What students study? What's their course of study with you in the Electrical Technology program?
Well, in the Electrical Technology program, we basically teach students to learn how to install electrical wiring and electrical devices. Some of the classes that I teach are residential wiring, which focuses on the electrical installations that go into a home when it's built or when it's renovated. But I'm here to talk a little bit more about the solar classes that I teach, which is I teach two. One is Introduction to Photovoltaics, and the other one is Photovoltaic Fixtures and Controls, which is designing a photovoltaic system. And I'm using this big word instead of solar. I know this is a solar day because
we
it's a little bit more.
Yeah, we can recall it Photovoltaic Day just for this segment, if you prefer, just for this 10 minutes.
Yes, no, but it's most commonly used. We all say solar because the photovoltaic energy is coming mostly from the sun. So that's why it's okay to call it solar, but it's more technically accurate.
Well, let me ask. We wanted to know what is a photovoltaic system? Like, what is that?
That's a very good question. As you know, and as Dr. Brian knows, as we know, the sun is the main energy source for our planet, right? And in the last couple hundred years, we've extracted that stored energy from the sun in the form of hydrocarbons or fossil fuels. And that's causing some trouble. And now we are trying to use that energy from the sun to convert it to to electrical energy, which is one that you can use a lot more easily. So the photovoltaic process is the process of converting light, photo, into electricity, volts. So, and that is accomplished through a solar panel. We can convert solar energy into other forms of energy. There are thermal conversions and other kinds of conversions. So that's why photovoltaic is more precise in this case, because it's the solar panels that can go on rooftops or on solar farms that convert some of that energy from the sunlight and heat into electricity. The process turns that energy into direct current or DC, sort of like the same kind of electricity we can get from battery. But then there is an additional process that's called the inverter, or additional device or set of devices that's called inverting that DC energy, electrical energy, into alternating current, which is what we get in homes and buildings. So it's really interesting. I should say so, right? But that's basically the idea of photovoltaic energy conversion.
Right. So I read a lot about efforts to try and embrace solar energy as a way to mitigate against pollution that results from burning fossil fuels and trying to move towards a more green energy generation or energy storage. Do you have a sense that we're there now, we're there in the near future or the far future, that we'll be able to generate our energy needs through solar at the same cost or cheaper than burning fossil fuels? How far away are we from making that transition?
It is a little bit hard to ask right now. I mean, to answer that question right now. There are a few limiting factors in how fast we can embrace and we can use, widely use solar energy and specifically photovoltaics, because photovoltaics right now are still a little bit expensive. It needs a bit of an investment, and interest rates is one factor that affects the ability of anyone, business or individual, to adopt solar. It can work even with this level of interest rates, but it needs to be very thoughtfully designed, and it is very important for anyone who wants to go solar, which is still a possibility right now, to really look into that design and talk to a very reputable contractor, and that's part of what we're trying to instill in our students. Even though most of them are trained as solar installers or photovoltaic panel installers, they do get a class in designing a system so that they understand how important it is to meet the needs of the client in that regard. Another huge factor that limits the development of photovoltaic systems is storage. As we know today, the sun is not always there. And whether it's because of an eclipse or just clouds, or
that's right. Yeah, we all want to see that eclipse today if the clouds will let us.
That's right.
So let me ask you, Professor Frias. I'm sorry. Before we run out of time here, let me ask you if you can just briefly talk about the Solar District Cup. Tell me about that program.
Well, one good thing about solar is that the federal government, the Department of Energy, is supporting the development of solar and the creation of jobs in solar photovoltaic systems. And one of those ways in which the Department of Energy is doing that is by sponsoring the Solar District Cup. The Solar District Cup is a competition that my students entered this year. This is the first time we do that, and we're really excited to compete in that. That is, it poses a design challenge, right? In this case, they're asking us to design a solar system for a set of buildings in the University of Washington campus. So this is national level. And of course, when you think about University of Washington, this is in Seattle. It is way north and it's cloudy, so there's a lot of challenges in that, right? So that's probably why they're presenting this challenge to us. So yeah.
Well, it sounds like a great competition, and I hope that, a lot of our students take advantage of the opportunity to participate. We're out of time here, so we'll have to have you come back and talk a little more about these competitions and events. But we will have all of the information about the Solar District Cup on our show notes after the show. Thank you so much, Professor Frias. It was fascinating to hear about the photovoltaic system side on Eclipse Monday.
Yes, thank you. Thanks.
Lana,
Wow.
back to you. I think we have some announcements.
We have some announcements and news and events. Let's start with our Fortnite tournament that will be at our Northline campus. That is for HCC gamers. Students can participate in an esports tournament with the winner crowned the Fortnite Intramural Champion. And that is 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Wednesday, April 10th at the Northline campus, which is 8001 Fulton, and it's in the Kinesiology Lab, E103. And check out our post after the show for registration information.
Well, we've also got a student music recital this spring. Music majors will perform the repertoire that they have studied and prepared to showcase their development and their skills. This will be at HCC Northwest Performing Arts Center, Theater 1, Wednesday, April 17 at 7:30 p.m. It is free to the public. There's no registration necessary, and everyone is welcome. Check our post after the show for more information.
And know your status with a free HIV STD test. It's a responsible thing to do, and this is a free way to check your status, whether you want to confidentially find out about HIV or about STDs. HCC is here to help you find out your status. And that is 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Next Wednesday, April 17th at the HCC Central Harmon Building. And check out our post after the show for more information.
Well, for faculty and staff and any other HCC employees out there, Talent Engagement has a road show coming this spring to your campuses. This week, the HCC's Talent Engagement will be hosting its 4th road show with valuable information and networking sessions. This one is called 457 Texas Saver and the ABCs of Compensation. Attendees will be receiving treats and giveaways and prizes. The next event is at the Northline campus, Thursday, April 18th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. As always, check our post after the show for more information and to register.
And our annual online virtual studio exhibition features works from all campuses in HCC's Spatial IO Virtual Gallery. Awards are in art, drawing, graphic design, and digital media. The image shown is 2023 faculty award winner called Do They Deserve It?, with children playing in trash-littered waters. The exhibition is April 22nd through May 3rd. The viewing link is spatial.io_gallery. The artist reception is 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Wednesday, May 8th at the Reality Collab and the HCC Central Campus, and it's free, no registrations necessary, and you can check out our post after the show for information.
All right, and as always, we want to remind everyone out there that enrollment is open. And so first, summer session, those classes have been open for a month now, and if you're thinking about taking summer classes, please enroll. I can't speak for every department, but I see that my classes in the history department are already about 30% full. So in addition to summer enrollment, fall priority registration began today. Open fall regular registration begins on Monday, April 15th. So like all HCC sessions, we offer classes in person. We have online anytime classes. We have online on a schedule classes with virtual meetings. We also have hybrids that meet partially in class and online, as well as hybrid labs. To learn more about HCC programs, classes, start dates, and options to cover your costs, go to hccs.edu/apply.
And coming up for Tasty Tuesday, we'll welcome the folks behind Back to the Future, the competition between HCC's history, biology, and culinary departments to create some tasty treats for staff and students to judge. And we'll host the online college to talk about its upcoming virtual town hall. Nick, thank you for joining me today, and thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.